All right, time to get started now. Hello everyone. Well, it's great to see so many curious minds in the room, right? I'm Naman Kothari and I work very closely with the startups and innovators who are shaping the future with technology, right? And if you ask me what the future looks like, I would say it's powerful, it's intelligent, fast moving, and yes, sometimes a bit unsettling, as we speak, AI is diagnosing diseases, screening candidates for jobs, writing legal contracts, right? And even recommending who gets the bail. Yes, you heard that right. It's helping policies, to track criminals and, to make decisions quickly. And, everything all without human intervention. This sounds impressive at the first sight, right? But let me quickly tell you a personal story that really put things into perspective for me. A few months ago, a founder I am mentoring right now showed me this amazing AI hiring tool as what he has developed. It was sleek, yes, it was fast, and it promised to make the recruitment process more efficient. But something, didn't sit right with me. So I asked him, have you tested this tool across genders, across regional accents, across socio-economic backgrounds? There was a long pause. Turns out the tool had been trained mostly on male applicants from metro cities, and it didn't account for regional accents or diverse backgrounds. No ill intent, but it could end up unintentionally excluding qualified candidates from smaller cities or smaller areas, right? So that's when it really hits me that ethical AI is not just about creating smart systems, it's about making sure those systems are fair, inclusive, and human. And now, as we dive in today's conversation, think about these are very important questions. Who's accountable when an algorithm rejects an applicant because of a candidate's accent or their zip code? Today, we have speakers from different parts of the country speaking different accents, right? Let's say if that tool is trained on just one accent, it won't be fair for all the candidates, right? The second question, who makes sure that the AI systems driving decisions in health, education, and employment are serving all communities equally? And perhaps most importantly, who ensure AI is designed with empathy, not just efficiency? These questions, are not just hypothetical, they are real, urgent, and have far reaching consequences. And to help us unpack them, we have brought in the big guns, right, as we call it. Each one of our panelists brings unique perspective, unique lens to this conversation, who live and breathe this space every day, And yes, let me tell all our speakers today, we have done our homework. We have been following all your work, reading insights, and getting a glimpse into what makes each of you stand out. Let me time without further ado. It's time to welcome all our speakers. Let's start with Dr. Hamza. Dr. Hamza Agli, joining us from Doha. He leads the AI and digital initiative at KPMG and was recently featured in Morocco's 40 under 40 list. Well, that's right. He is not just building smart system, he's getting recognized for, how he leads them. So all our attendees, you can expect sharp insights from Dr. Hamza. Dr. Hamza, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation and looking forward to sharing insights and learning from the panelists too.
Perfect. Now, next up, we have Bettina Elo joining us from Saudi Arabia. She runs a global cyber law and a policy firm. And honestly, I would say she's on a non-stop panel tour. You go to her LinkedIn website, right? Just yesterday, she was at the Security Middle East Conference in Riyadh. The day before, she was at JISEC 2025. And before that, leading the talks at World's Lawyer Forum. Wow. If attending, I would say panels was an Olympic sport, Bettina would be a gold medalist, right? Perfect. Welcome, Bettina. Welcome. Now, from Dubai, we have Dr. Nicolina. Dr. Nicolina, she is the acting dean at the American University in the Emirates, right? Dr. Nicolina, what really stood out to me is how deeply you believe in your students. You recently shared how two of them built the virtual influencers using generative AI in the marketing class. That really, tells you everything about the kind of mindset you encourages. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
And joining us from the beautiful city of Prague is Jakub. Jakub, he is the generative AI strategist at the World Health Organization, WHO. And by the way, he also runs his own startup, Complexity. If anyone here knows how AI can be used at scale to solve massive global challenges, it's him. Looking forward to the insights, Jacob.
Thank you very much for the invite. Looking forward. Can't wait.
All right, and finally, without further ado, we have our moderator, Dr. Akvil Ignotate, all the way from Hamburg. And now here's a fun fact. When we say AI today, it usually means artificial intelligence, right? But in this panel, AI also means Akvil Ignotate, right? Because she's got brains and AI skill like no one else, right? She leads System Akvil, an AI-driven startup in health, skin health. And she's a very fond of India, by the way. Akvil, the floor is yours. And just before we jump in, I have a quick announcement also. After our panel discussion, we are going to move from ideas to action. That's right. We'll see where ethical AI looks like the real world. And we have got an innovator in the room, Apur Garg, founder of Orva, who will walk us through a powerful live demo shortly. So, Akvil, over to you. The stage is yours.
Awesome, awesome. So thank you for the introduction. And I was really very excited when Naman invited me to moderate this panel, because ethical AI, when we talk about ethical AI, and especially when we talk about skin, I don't know what could be more ethical. And from the founder's perspective, who works with AI, develops AI, I see so many challenges, even in topics of what was introduced before, that AI systems mostly are trained not on diverse data. We see this in our company as well when we work with external providers, but data sets are very limited, their approaches are very limited and mostly made for Western cultures. And yesterday I was reading a German press, and it was introduced that 80% of Gen AI models cannot tell truth. And one professor from German university, Professor Sturge, said Gen AI models are not trained to tell truth. They are trained to predict the next words, and text, but we are not trained to predict truth. So that's why, AI models sometimes, as we call, lie or just make facts. So yeah, so let's start with the first question, and it's the same question for everyone. What does, from your perspective, ethical AI mean? Who wants to start? Maybe I was thinking, Betania, maybe you want to start with this question?
Thank you so much, Dr. Akvil, and hello, everyone. Betania, I'm a tech lawyer, and besides talking speaking in conferences, as Naman said, I'm also a global policy consultant specializing in responsible AI, cybersecurity, digital transformation. I worked across Latin America. I'm from Argentina originally, although right now I'm in Saudi Arabia. I worked in the US, here in the Gulf, including the United Nations, Vision 2030, Giga projects here in Saudi Arabia. And I've spoken, of course, at different events, but I'm really passionate about building ethics, cultural values, and human rights into law, and how we design and govern emerging technologies. So I'm very honored to join this very timely discussion on ethics or ethical AI. And what it means to me is that artificial intelligence in all its ways is designed, it is developed, and it's deployed in ways that respect human dignity, that really uphold legal and cultural values. It's very important what Naman was mentioning about, having different demographics and diversity into account. And of course, minimizing harm, particularly on vulnerable and unrepresented communities. It is about embedding human rights, transparency, principles like accountability, and inclusivity into the very most DNA of this technology. When I've been working across this region, I've really seen firsthand how AI is rapidly integrated into public services and smart cities and national visions. But speed should not come at the expense of trust. And so I think that businesses and governments must really prioritize ethics in their work with artificial intelligence, not only to just mitigate risk and check certain lists, but really to comply and with regulations and to earn the public legitimacy. And I think that more and more, I was seeing the slides when we were waiting about percentages of people who wouldn't join companies that don't use AI ethically. And I think that that's something that perhaps not most companies have into mind, but they do want to be part of that club because they don't want to lose the trust of their customers and their investors. So yeah, I think that these are some of the shared values that I think shape innovation in this area.
Perfect, like very good introduction. I would say, Dr. Hamza, maybe you want to follow up on this introduction and give us your perspective on ethical AI.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Akfil, and good afternoon, good morning from wherever you are in the world. So I think this topic is keen to my heart, and I'm really happy that the topic of AI brought discussion around ethics into the business today. So AI and for me it's not only a technical questions or issue. It's a technical and societal questions that need to take into consideration a lot of aspects of human and technology and mixing this into something that works for good. So to me, ethical AI is not just another buzzword. It's a strategic, actually, imperative for companies, and we will see later on through the discussion that actually for companies, it can be a competitive advantage to work as ethical AI means. So I saw this throughout the consulting industry. So we were helping customers to adopt and lead with AI. So technically speaking, it's building, architecting, deploying systems with ethics by design. When we talk about ethics, I always summarize it in what I call the first principles, and first here as acronyms, right? First for fairness, interpretability, robustness, trust, transparency, and I summarize this as the first principle of having trustworthiness and trustworthy AI. So this isn't just about compliance only, it's about building AI that maintain public trust and ensuring that the tool is used for good. So why it is critical now for business? Because throughout the digital transformation consultancies that I'm doing, AI is one of the top priority on and initiatives. So it's like a driver for sustainable innovation and competitive advantage, right? Is it about mitigating risk? Yes. It is about brand reputation? Yes, but it's more importantly, it's about building customer trust and loyalty, attracting investors and top talent. So to summarize, as AI capabilities expand, particularly with generative AI, I do believe that the commitment to become ethical is non-negotiable, and it's about ensuring AI serves humanity, not the other way around. So, and yeah, that's how I see embedding ethics into the technicality of AI.
Well, very interesting approach. Like I already have so many questions, but like need to stick to the script. Because sometimes when, the AI is developed, like at the end of the day, I don't even know that if companies are already prepared and have the talent on board to really understand and, say, is this AI ethical? Because I see in my business, we checked one of the biggest AI models for skin vision, and these models are applied among multinational skincare companies. And we see a huge gap between, diagnostics in white skin and darker skin tones. So yeah. So before I dive deep, I would say who want to follow up on these conversations? Maybe Jakob, we will start. Like you would love to go with a World Health Organization and what ethics mean, especially when we talk about healthcare. But
Right. So I would maybe start with a slightly different perspective. I have been attending recently multiple conferences on effective altruism and the AI safety debate. Solving questions like what will happen if the AI is much smarter, let's say IQ 1000, and it has this goal to profit maximize, and it will essentially see the humans controlling it as a bottleneck that is unnecessary, and it will have a tendency to sort of give us the answers which are good enough for us, but not the real truth, not the ultimate truth. Like, these are really interesting questions, understanding more from the like a future perspective, when we get to the point where the AI is actually super intelligent. How will that affect our ability to control it? And I think my perspective on this is that if we, and I'm going to talk about this throughout the session, right? If we actually have a modular approach where we make sure that there is clear protocol, how we do things, how we make decisions, how we process information, how we transform it into some other intermediate output, which we distribute throughout the company, how we control access to information, and this kind of management, then we should be in a good position to actually control and maximize the ethical needs that we might have. It's all about making sure that we don't sort of give too much power to the AI to be sort of like a black box which we can't really understand, right? That is the ultimate thing we don't want. So I think what it comes down to is we need to make sure that there are clear goals, they are clearly aligned with our values. We clearly can control the output that the AI produces. We can make sure that before it actually does any action, we have a protocol in place to check whether it's actually something we want to happen, right? And all these kinds of things. We can go deeper later, but that's kind of my perspective, like this kind of engineering perspective to human AI alignment. And I think there is a way. I think we can actually solve this. Although, as I tried to a little bit dramatize it in the beginning, it is a difficult problem, but I think there is a way. Yeah.
Wow, awesome. Do not give too much power to the AI. I already wrote it down, like awesome. Dr. Nicolina, like maybe you can give us some ideas from the education perspective and then technology. You as like educator, how do you see ethical AI in education and especially, for students?
So hello everyone again, and greetings from Dubai. So just to give a little bit of a perspective of the question of unethical AI, usually we talk when in industry, in academia, we talk about two things. I think some of you mentioned avoiding harm and minimizing bias. So these are two terms that mostly we are using when we are talking about AI. But I think to really get a little bit deeper about that and about the task-oriented approach to AI, I think we need to think of how we are designing, and this very time, when we are at the beginning, the systems that have a potential to mediate human experience, to interact with humans. I'm talking about a period of time in 5, 10, 15 years. It's developing very, very fast. To interact with humans in a completely different way, in a way that is relational, in a way that is co-creational, in a way that is not technical. And I think the sooner we start thinking about it and understanding this perspective, that we are not only now developing technology, we might be developing completely another set of entity. And this entity will reflect values, will reflect assumptions, will reflect data that we put in there. Over time, this needs to be, I think, approached in a little bit different manner. As you mentioned, the systems are already smarter. I mean, if we're looking at the like pure, cognitive capacity, of course, they're smarter than us. So what is it that we as humans are going to keep, and how we're going to take this? I'm not sure if control is the right way, and I'm not sure where we're going to go. But we need to think about all of those things, how we are going to embed the real values into the system before they become too strict to challenge. So basically, this is again my a little bit different approach that's more oriented toward relational approach toward AI. We'll talk about it a little bit more.
Awesome. So you basically, like, if I summarize like the ending, you would say that it's still, responsibility of people and who develop the AI and are designing the AI to already think about the ethical perspectives and not, when that you see that it's like, I don't know, like that it represents just, one set of people or something, try fixing. Awesome. So now we are moving to the second set of block of the questions. Like I try to keep on time, guys. So we will be into more deep dive questions now for everyone, and we will start with you, Dr. Hamza, with your experience with global companies. You work for big for consulting companies, and like how these big companies, like you're advising in your consulting business, are thinking responsibility then AI makes decisions. Maybe you can give us some hands-on advice or like case studies like.
Okay, so if I understood well, the question is about like how global companies are using AI, putting the ethics into practice, right?
No, like it's more like already from compliance perspective. Like if you use AI in your decision-making processes, and as a global company, and something goes wrong, like how to put all these responsibilities in place, and more like this compliance perspective and accountability.
Yeah. I think the question related to accountability is really related to a broader topic, which is the governance. And what we see from advising global companies around the globe is really most of the initiatives, or at least a big chunk of initiatives, will fail due to something related to governance. And one thing that Jacob mentioned in the beginning, which is the talent, right? So governance, talent are really key factors defining the success of implementing and adopting AI, right? So if we zoom in to the question related to accountability in AI-driven decision, we're witnessing actually kind of a shift, a transformation from this traditional top-down approach where you have one chief of something responsible of making the decision, to a more distributed, shared model given the complexity itself of AI models, right? So the very nature of AI, by definition, as I mentioned, is distributed development, and sometimes there are some opaque decision making that we really push for a systemic and more proactive approach. So what we're implementing and advising globally is a move toward like a distributed, shared accountability. This means embedding responsibility across the entire AI lifecycle, right? From data scientists, engineers, product owners, legal teams, and establishing cross-functional AI ethics councils or center of excellence, plus what we call responsible. We are seeing the emergence of responsible offices, responsible AI offices, right? These bodies are not just an oversight of the AI, but they are enablers, equipping teams for frameworks, tools, and processes to train the workforce. Right? Is this is again the question will arise: is the traditional models will is dead? I think not entirely, because senior leadership, including the roles like chief AI ethics or chief AI officer, still hold ultimate accountability. And we'll discuss this later on when it comes to mixing and putting always the human in the loop. So, however, the operationalization of this accountability needs to be more tooled, more federated, so empowering each individual who touch AI throughout the life cycle to be an agent of the ethical practices, right? So this is crucial because if you think about it, when an AI system makes an error, pinpointing a single human failure is often impossible because, as I mentioned initially, you have different stakeholder, you have data owners, you have the business owners, you have the data engineers, data scientists. So instead of having like one single like a person to blame, you have to have like to look at the robustness of the system, the governance that are put in place, the organizational commitment to ethical AI. So in short, I would say that companies are evolving toward a shared accountability models and putting tools and frameworks that enables this through clear policies, rules, cross-functional oversight, including legal, tech compliance, HR, finance, and third-party auditing. As an auditing company, also we are pushing for a hybrid, multidisciplinary teams to do the job, all ensuring that when an AI system acts on behalf of an organization, its actions are traceable, explainable, and ultimately the companies are at the company's responsibility to justify each steps of that process of the decision making.
Oh, very interesting. And probably like these processes make like the AI adoption in big companies a little bit slower. Like what I see, because the topic of responsibility, setting, all the cycles, etc. Like really interesting, and like what I took, like it's still, you need to put, human in the loop. It's like not autonomous systems running, at all. Awesome. Now let's move to the next question, Dr. Nicolina. It's for you. So let's talk about the education again, and like, how do you think we can prepare future leaders to handle the ethical issues in AI?
Thank you for this $1 million question. I'm not sure that anyone in higher education have a response to that, but I will try. We are having many discussions and panels and roundtables trying to navigate through this. What is the main challenge here is that we are all in education, we're working in a system that has been created several hundred years ago. and we are making cosmetic changes. We are not making the real changes. And we need completely another paradigm of education for 21st century. This is not happening. We are introducing new tools. We are introducing new technologies, but we are not changing the paradigm. What happened? Universities, they used to be, kind of the center of science, of progress, of everything, right? What happened when ChatGPT was launched and generative AI students started using it? Almost all universities banned the use of generative AI immediately. This is what happened. Panic. What are we going to do? We need to get out of our, university box of the way how we learned and how the people before us learned, and the assignments they used to create. And we need to change everything. Yes, we need to change everything, and this is the fact. And there is a lot of initiative. Again, there is a lot of talk, but nothing is really substantially happening. So going back to your question, how we educate future leaders, future graduates to actually be AI aware, to have an awareness of AI ethics, and to be skilled in using them, is only by embedding AI into curriculum, into what we do, giving them a playground to try, to make mistakes, not to be afraid. Recently, there was a study that literally AI recognition tools, they are not working. Students are using them. Either we are going to help them use them in a proper way, use them in an ethical way, or it's just going to go through a completely very, very strange period for education. Another thing, at the same time, we have a really, really push on technology in education. AI, different solutions for different things. Recently, 2 weeks ago, I was at a World Education Summit, and I've seen a amazing solution, educational solution. It's actually the humanoid robot, educational humanoid robot called Ria. And she's based on generative AI. You can interact with her. She's going to respond to questions. You can put her in a classroom as a professor. So we are becoming obsolete eventually. The point is, this is opening new and new questions now. Going back to my previous question related to relationship, to emotional and relational side, to the fact that with a continuous exposure to something, to an entity that is providing you, that is mimicking responses, there are like human responses, that you can develop relationship. So all those things, those students, those graduates, they need to be exposed to that, and they need to understand what is happening so that tomorrow they will not get confused, and that they will be able to actually apply all those tools. But not only apply, I'm telling my students, so you mentioned, I'm applying all those tools. My students can use whatever as long as they disclose, and we set up the assignment in that way that they're encouraged to do so. But the point is, what is today there, in 2 years it will be obsolete. In 5 years, forget about it. They have to develop the capability of lifelong learning. But to start with, to have, the base to build upon, they need to understand what is AI, what it can, what it cannot do yet, to follow up on what it will do, of course, and to understand they have to learn, and that is not that it will be expected to use it. This is the only way.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like, I recently read a study that most teenagers cannot understand, and what is real fact and what is a deep fake on social media. And it's so scary, that instead of encouraging kids in schools using AI and really understanding how it can be used and misused, we just cut this as educators, especially, for example, in Germany, they say, no, you cannot use ChatGPT, and it's just banned, instead of saying, hey, you can use, and we will show, what's real and what's fake, so you can, make a better decision, in understanding, what's going on around you. So, but this, as you said, it's like 1 million dollar question, for a discussion for probably 2 hours. So let's move to the next question, Betania, to you. So maybe from your experience in law and technology and policy, what specific actions should government and tech leaders take to make sure ethics is built into AI from the start and not just, added later, when, the house is already burning, and the press is screaming. So maybe you can give some ideas and some points.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ackville. Well, I think this is another $1 million question. I think that one of the key challenges that we're facing in implementing AI ethically is the gap that we see between the principles and the practice. Right now, we have plenty of high-level ethical guidelines that anyone can find online, but I think that very few enforceable legal tools actually hold anyone accountable. So from a legal perspective, I would say, I think that's a critical flaw that we have at hand. If there's no clear liability or due process for individuals that are affected or no regulatory oversight, we're not building real trust, as like kind of building upon my previous answer. So what we are having is just like risk. So another issue I think that is timing, right? Too often legal and ethical considerations are brought in after the system is built. So you were saying like once the house is already on fire. I think that it is extremely difficult to retrofit fairness, transparency, accountability, like Dr. Hamza was very well highlighting, or explainability into the design sometimes. And finally, I think that the regulatory fragmentation, I think, is one, if not the real problem. Different jurisdictions have different rules, and companies don't always know what standard to follow, so they just say, I just follow none. So what do we actually do, and what is it that I usually recommend is that there is political decision to legislate and not just guide. Moving from voluntary ethical guidelines to binding legal requirements. And I know that regulation is usually a bad word in technology. Innovators often think that regulation will limit their creativity or innovation, but it's not necessarily that way. I think that mandating, for example, algorithm ethical impact assessments or transparency mechanisms and audits, as it was mentioned before, I think that's something that those are things that will help build an ethical ecosystem around AI. Integrating these policies early, of course, involving lawyers and regulators in the system, like design phase, I would say, and not post-deployment, I think is also something to keep in mind, because it makes ethical and legal analysis a core part of the development. And something that was also mentioned before, I think, by Dr. Hamza, is the cross functional teams. That's something that we see in other areas, but in the management of AI and its risks, I think it's extremely important. In the Middle East, for example, ethical AI must align not only with international principles, but also with local traditions and legal standards, cultural norms, national visions, like we have very most prominently in the UAE and here in Saudi. So this, I think, creates co-creation and something that I advise my clients, both in government, that it's not just copy and paste regulation, that we also have to keep in mind not like tailored approach and unique complexities, and make regulation that actually works and that is sustainable in time. And that's something that I also say in a different way to the private sector, to industries, to organizations that are trying to comply. That is not just a box to check when you are avoiding. Mainly, they call me to avoid fines and just to check the list of compliance. But sometimes having a global approach means that there are certain practices that can be bring to your company, to your operations, to make them more efficient, that perhaps your jurisdiction doesn't make them mandatory. So yeah, I think that if we want to AI to be ethical in practice, I think it's important that it's not just theory, that we turn governance into action. And I think that that starts with strong legal frameworks, with structure and accountability.
Exactly, couldn't agree more. And especially, when you are developing AI, like, most of the companies, they live like, in closed bubbles, like, thinking about integrating cultural aspects. Like I see a lot of European companies, that most AI technologies are not really made, for the rest of a global population, because, developers sit, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, code and, have a certain data set. And it's like all these topics are so connected, from the education, from a legal perspective, from the consultancy. And now, Jakub, I have a question to you, so you do not fall asleep. So let's talk about the World Health Organization. And like I read a lot that you guys use AI in decision-making processes. So how WHO can make sure that they stay responsible for those decisions, and what kind of systems can help that accountability in place? Like if we talk about mass impact for this organization, and if mistakes happen, how you manage this.
Right. So to be completely transparent, we are still at the beginning, right? We have been doing this for like half a year, where we are transforming processes in the company and employing LLMs to sort of do at least part of the job done by our administrative people, like people who create reports, people who validate information, people who prepare inputs for decisions, people who make sure that our documents are compliant with certain standards, right? So essentially, we are responsible as an organization for preparing the sort of standard for world health, right? So it is a lot of documents which need to have absolutely precise, surgically precise quality. And there is a lot of parts of this process which can be automated, because it involves, putting the right pieces together, searching information, formulating it in a certain way. So we are looking at all angles how we can make sure that this is as automated as possible. But I think what it comes down to is that as Dr. Hamza spoke about the sort of what was the word, like essentially I understood it that there needs to be a certain level of diversity, let's say, in the decision making, that you need to essentially make sure that you employ the intellect of your people in a strategic way, rather than the people doing repetitive tasks which can be automated. You use their unique insights, unique input, in a way where you sort of let them shine in their little bit stochastic, little bit unpredictable ability to contribute to a discussion in a creative way, right? So I really like this model by Ray Dalio called idea meritocracy, where according to his book Principles, he essentially has a group of, let's say, 20 people who lead extremely dynamic meetings when they are trying to come up with the right strategy. And I think this is exactly what is something that what is the future we're going forward, right? It's not that you have a decision maker who is extremely time constrained and needs to make brisk decisions about strategic matters in a matter of minutes. That's not what we want. That's not good enough for the complex world we are living in, right? So essentially, what should happen is that these decision makers are put in a position where they can only do the only job they are actually meant to do, which is to decide, to use their insights, use their unique experience to make decisions. But everything else is done by AI, right? That's I think where we are heading. And so back to WHO, I think the future we are looking forward is to sort of use our utmost experts that we have to sort of create the narrative, create the direction, right? Create the ideas that will put the world in a better place, but essentially the actual execution of transmission of these reports or creation of these reports and transmission of the information to the world can actually be majorly done by AI. And I would love to speak about so many things. Maybe just one point. I think what was discussed here is this accountability and stuff. I think what is really important is that you have sort of a protocol in place, right? And we spoke about regulation and stuff like this. I think regulation is meant to sort of give you a blueprint how to think about things, like what you should consider, right? It's like a negotiated deal that we from now on we are going to actually concern ourselves with these questions because we shouldn't omit those questions. That's how I see regulation. AI Act is prime example, right? And so the point is that if we actually put this in place, the world will become more complex for everybody. That's for sure. It's gonna slow things down a bit. But the question is it really a problem in the world with AI so dominant, right? Is it really a problem? Because AI is extremely good at how's the word? Submitting to certain standards, submitting to multiple angles of point of view, making sure that all the perspectives are sort of contained in the final answer. It's extremely good at that, much better than humans, right? So I think if we actually use our insights to regulate better, and then we write the regulations with AI, but then we also like sort of make sure that there are systems in place which make sure that all these regulations are actually complied with using AI, and we only make the strategic decisions around all these matters. How we go forward, how do we solve it, how do we implement it, what is our unique value to this, right? Then it doesn't matter that there is a lot of regulation, because actually the AI can sort of manage the complexity for us, I believe. And I truly believe I'm a big fan of regulation. I think regulation is extremely important. It's really improving the world in major ways. Exactly as I explained, by putting the right questions in the minds of the people. And so I think there's bright future for regulation, and we should definitely use AI to manage the regulation and manage the complexity of the world we have. Yeah.
Oh, like very good answer. It almost summarized the entire discussion. I am just keeping the eye on the time, so we need 10 minutes for the startup to pitch. So maybe we will skip the last question, and I would say if every panelist just could give us like the main takeaway for the audience, like when we talk about ethics. What should be done and where to start, like very short, like 1, 2, 3, so we have some time for the startup as well.
Sure. I can start. I think we have very insightful discussion here. I like the topics around regulation, change of paradigm, etc. I think I want to step a little bit back. So in order to put AI to work here for me, I think from business perspective, we need to change also the paradigm. So AI here is not just as a checklist. You have to comply with AI. I think it should be from the beginning by design as as a defining principle of doing business. Okay, and as a
Awesome.
consequence, we can talk about ROI and business outcomes, etc. But as a human being, we should embed AI ethics in every aspect of life, in particular when it comes to business. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think that AI is, and then we need to define what is intelligence, by the way. But let's say it's not as intelligent as human, and then we need to discuss, okay, if AI is so-called intelligence, so let's focus as human being, what makes us a human, right? The principles, the emotions, the maybe the spirit, maybe other things that are transcendent to the AI. So that's some ideas that I want to share. But and I think the human oversight is something that must be throughout the life cycle of AI, from designing to development, deployment, and also the monitoring of the execution of the system. And this is something really important, to have the omni accountability of for human throughout the life cycle. That's how I can summarize.
Perfect. Dr. Nicolina, so what is your one takeaway for a discussion as a summary?
Thank you. It's an amazing discussion. I think it could take a lot of time, especially if we would start cross asking each other questions, which will not happen obviously now. But my I don't know my I don't know, takeaway or my question and one thing that I'm always thinking about when we're discussing the ethics we were talking about, that we need systems that will make proper decisions, that they will make decisions that are good for business. But I think also that we need systems that should know when not to make a decision. So how we create a system that know when it should not make a decision, when it should go back and say, okay, I should not do that. I should check with human. So I think this is maybe more of a technical question, or I don't know. I mean, there are many. This is so interdisciplinary. But this is when we are talking about integrating some principles into AI. They're above the task oriented, because it's not only anymore what we can do with AI. Yes, we can do already many things, and we are doing, and we will do more. But over time, what we will become with AI. So
Exactly.
from my side, that's it.
It's now 1 billion question probably. Who wants to move on to one?
I can go on.
on.
Just like very summarized from a legal perspective, I think accountability, no matter how autonomous AI becomes, we can't let responsibility dissolve into the algorithm, if you will. Someone always has to clearly and publicly be accountable when things go wrong, whether there's the developer, the deployer, the organization behind the system. Accountability, I think, has been a key word during our conversation, and it keeps systems grounded in real world consequences. And I think that's how we actually align ethics with action.
Perfect. Very good. Jakob, one sentence for you left.
Right. So I just want to mention this term that I really love, which is called intelligence infrastructure. Right. It's the main topic of my think tank, Intelligence Strategy Research Institute, intelligencestrategy.org, where I write like already 120 articles. I try to essentially figure out like how do we use AI to boost our intelligence, to boost our decision-making ability, to boost our innovation, our creativity, right? Like how do we actually put people in the position where they are most ready to make impact, essentially. That is really the future of the world I'm looking forward to. How do we make people more informed at the right moment? Doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna, you know, memorize information like we used to do in school in my early days. It's more about essentially giving them all the critical information they need to make to sort of use their unique insight and combine that with, so essentially combine the information they need to know about the situation they are in, or the, you know, sort of, let's say, market position or something like that, and the unique insight that they have as a person, as a leader, as a businessman. And that's the future I'm building with complexity. I'm essentially trying to make sure that people have the right modules ready for them to process information in a more efficient manner. And yeah, it's really exciting times. I think it's amazing what is possible now. Essentially, it's the dream come true for anybody who wanted to sort of make impact in the world, because now it's easier than ever to have the right information to help shape critical decisions of our civilization, you know. And the expert knowledge that used to be needed is diminishing day by day, because it's more about actually context. It's not more about your unique experience. It's more about your experience as a leader rather than your expert knowledge. And
Awesome.
I think that that's great for anybody who is innovative and wants to make impact. Yeah.
Perfect. I see Naman joined the chat already, you know, sitting and then waiting, because guys, we are like a little bit behind the time. So, so Naman, the stage
Right.
is
Yes.
yours. Like, you want to
So it
introduce
was
us, right?
truly an exciting and enriching discussion, I would say. Thanks, Akil, and to all the brilliant panelists for speaking. One of the most real and I would say relevant conversation on AI we have heard in a while, right? And now we switch gears. Just hold on for some more time. From ideas about the future to people building it actually. And before we begin, a quick request to all our panelists: we would love for you, to wear a slightly different hat. Join us as the jury for the startup pitching session. And kicking off the pitching lineup, we have Apurva Garg, founder of Orva, right? They are building a unified data and AI asset governance platform. And Apurva, the stage is yours. Can we have you on the screen, please, quickly? You have, 8 minutes, 6 to 8 minutes to impress the panelists.
Five.
All right, there you have it, 5. Apurva, can we have you on the screen, please, quickly? So while Apurva joins, Apurva, all right, so he's just working it out to share his screen. While he joins, we have the panelists here. Let me ask you one direct question. And Akil, you may also, join the discussion. As more startup build solution around AI governance and compliance, so my question to all of you is, what's the one thing they often underestimate? And what should they absolutely get right from day one? Akil, we'll start with you. Since you are also building a startup, what do you think, during the initial stage, that's one AI governance and compliance that needs to be taken care?
I would say in general in startups and in technology, it's like the one thing is reality check. It's like, most of startups and tech and AI, it's built maybe by the books and by algorithm. You write a grant and you get some money and everything sounds cool, but when you have reality check. And I don't know, like I always ask, a startup like who are doing, AI, I was like, are you thinking, about the broader audience? Like how diverse is your data? And most of them do not even think about this. And it's really, really scary, that, we do not make this part, like diversity, ethics, a part even of international grants, or, our investment topics. So I would say, with like, really making sure, that your system could be, at least scalable and, in diverse way, and not just, very, very biased.
Right. No, interesting. And Dr. Hamza, since you work and deal, you might have, worked with a lot of startups, early stage startups in particular. What is, all right, Apurva is here, but quickly, I would like to take your take also. What is it that, as most startups build solutions around governance, what is that one thing you feel they often underestimate? This is a very pointed question. There are so many startups who have joined us today, and they would love to hear it directly from the horse's mouth.
No, I think there are multiple answers to that questions depending on where you stand and what are your end users. But I think there is a need to focus on data and integration. Part of the challenges is how to curate right data to understand actually the right procedures to take in, plus the integration with the existing system within the company. A lot of startups and companies actually underestimate the complexity of integration. We didn't have enough time to speak about what actually made complex AI. It's not about the models anymore. Models are everywhere now, but the challenge is
Right.
the operations behind the models, how you integrate with the legacy system, etc., etc. So these are two key element. Of course, there are other stuff that we can discuss, but since you asked one thing, I think integration data is something that really need to focus on.
Right. Apurva, I hope you have, made notes of it. And quickly, you can share your screen, take us through the demo and show us what you have built.
You're muted.
Apurva, you're muted. Yes. You're on mute, Apurva.
It's always technical issues.
Yeah, we're talking all AI. We are talking all the, emerging tech, deep tech, but this is one simple things.
I had one time demo, and it's like, I don't know, like in the evening everything was working, in the morning somehow ABS crashed, etc. Nothing was working, literally nothing was working. So I learned, like, I'm doing some screen recordings.
While Apurva quickly, while Apurva still works it out. Okay, Apurva is there. Apurva, you are still on mute. All right, we can see the demo. Are we going to see it on mute, Apurva?
His microphone is not working. No,
maybe can you log out and log in again by the time Bettina can tell us, anything, Bettina, you might have worked with a lot of startups, and then we'll move to Jakub also. Bettina, while he comes again, just quickly in one line, what do you think that's one thing that they often underestimate, these startups?
Well, thank you for the question. I every semester I am a judge in a sort of Shark Tank kind of demo at Syracuse University, where I did my master's, and I see a lot of these ideas that start in the classroom and end up being startups. So one thing that I think you always have to keep in mind when incorporating technology into your solution, if it is the right technology to solve the problem that you're trying to address. Sometimes early entrepreneurs or startups get caught up by the buzzwords of the moment, and everyone wants to have an AI-powered solution, like before was a blockchain-based solution, and you name it. So just make sure sometimes there are other ways to make the solution to your problem more efficient and cost effective, and perhaps it doesn't need to use the technology that you're trying to promote.
All right. Well, that's a pretty pointed answer. Dr. Nicolina?
I would literally follow up on what you just said. This is a similar thing that I'm also witnessing and seeing, that you need, if you want, when you're starting a company, when you're starting whatever, first thing is you need to understand your target group. You need to understand the market. You need to understand what is happening. What is happening is that we have a lot of buzzwords, that we now have an overwhelming number of AI solutions. And you have to see what's already there. You have to see what is the problem that you're solving. You have to see who's going to buy this solution. Because you have this wonderful idea that you really, really love, but is this solution really providing something? Is it giving value? Another thing, financial planning. I think that many startups don't really have like a good idea on financial planning. They start and they fly high, and they expect that things will happen. And then when return of investment does not happen, then we are in a problem. And this is why we have a lot of failure in startups. And of course, that's why we have, those startups that people that, okay, I have 10 unsuccessful startups, so I learned something, and then finally 11th one is going to be really, really great. This is all the learning process at the end of the day, but knowing your market, doing your homework, in understanding market need, in understanding what's happening and what's needed, I think this is the most important thing.
An interesting take. Quickly, Jakub.
Can you just remind me the original question?
So as you know, as we are seeing an increasing trend of startup building solutions around governance, or let's say AI governance in particular, and compliance. So what do you think they often underestimate while building new tool or solutions?
Underestimate, yeah. Well, to be honest, I don't have that. I don't have that frame of reference as some of the other speakers mentioned. Okay, maybe Apurva is ready, but I just want to mention. I don't have that deep insight into the startups. But what we are looking at is essentially how do we make sure that if it's not something that the AI can solve immediately, then how do we involve the decision maker? How do we make everything traceable, auditable, right? How do we make sure that everything that actually happens in the company is sort of has a protocol to be approved by, right? I think those are the important questions in terms of like making the most impact with AI, and at the same time having it in the right setup. Yeah.
Perfect. Apurva is here, and show our sharks now. Apurva, quickly, right?
Perfect. Awesome. I will take everyone's time a lot. Cool. So just to give you an insight, right? So please go ahead. Cool. So just to give you a quick insight on what made us start Orva. So I come from AI background. I was leading ML teams for Facebook previously. We used to use ML AI for a lot of purposes. And in fact, Facebook was one of the reasons that the government passed laws that ads cannot be targeted based on location, based on gender, etc., for certain things like financials, etc., right, which kind of ties into what you guys were discussing, right? Another issue that we saw and that we faced personally was that AI was being trained on random data, and companies had no visibility into what kind of data the AI models are being trained upon, right? What kind of data these AI models are sharing externally to third parties, to the users that are querying, right? So that is a big gap that we have seen at pretty much every company, every leader that we talk to, that they have, but also the pressure to kind of build fast, use AI as much as possible is like super high, right? And that is what we are trying to solve at Orva. Right. So very simple example, one of my AI engineer, he started using a random library, and we saw that there's some data flowing to China as such, and we didn't know like why this data is going to China. And then we realized that our AI engineer has used an ML library that was actually being hosted in China. So these kind of issues actually are more frequent than we actually imagine at this point. And that is what we are trying to solve at Orva, right? So there are two core parts to what we do, right? So we are trying to build a complete privacy and security layer for everything data and AI, right? So basically, like what kind of data is being used, right? What data companies are collecting, what kind of data there is, PHI, PCI, etc. What applications are actually consuming this data, what is the purposes that these applications are consuming the data for, right? As well as pretty much like all the different accesses that are happening toward the database, right? So be it your AI application, be it your humans that are accessing the data, right? Because you have to actually understand that who has and who is actually accessing the data in order to ensure the privacy and security of your data, which is the most critical thing, right? Then basically you also have to understand what are the different third parties where you are sending the data to, right? What are the different applications, what are different AI applications? For example, you can see here, this is an AI application which is using these different libraries. This is how like it is accessing the data or sharing the data, right? You can see that there are a bunch of vector databases from which this AI is actually accessing the trained data. And then you can see that this database is how it is actually accessing and being trained upon. So you can understand this complete visibility of like these databases and understand how these applications are actually performing, how the system is actually looking like, right? So that is something that we actually wanted to focus on and provide to companies, this complete visibility. So yeah, like that's pretty much what I wanted to share, that there.
Perfect. So just one quick question, Apur. Are these all in-house or have you outsourced some part of it?
No. Everything is in-house, and again, large companies like Facebook, Google, Netflix, they have ensured that they have they have to be the ones who lead responsible AI innovation, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, llama models being trained at Facebook, right? Facebook has ensured really well that there is no sensitive data flowing into those, right? And from our experience, we have faced these similar problem in other companies, and that is what we have tried to replicate the system that
Right.
Facebook built in-house.
Let's say, for example, tomorrow, let's say a big company as big as KPMG wants to, work with you. So let's say, so where does all the data get saved? Is it saved on-prem or, on a centralized cloud? Where is it
Yes.
saved?
So we have ensured again that everything is on-prem onto the customer's environment so that no sensitive data is actually moving out. We also ensure that sensitive data exposure is called out,
Mm-hmm.
be it via application, be it via AI, be it via direct access, data lakes, Snowflake, Databricks, etc. Right? So that the privacy and security leaders who are
Right.
actually responsible for ensuring the safety of the data of the user, right,
Mm-hmm.
are aware about everything happening into their infra, into their environment.
Right. Right. Interesting. Interesting. Any specific questions before we wrap up?
Yeah,
Anything that you wish to share? All right. I see. Mhm.
thanks for the presentation. I have slightly short questions. Could you help me understand if this is just a cataloging solution or a
Mhm.
lineage solution, or what makes it different when it comes to the security measures, how the governance here. So what I understand from what you says here is
Mhm.
mostly about introspection of metadata of from models and data you have in the database, and then
Mhm.
export it into visual way. So that's number one. Question number two is about your current customers. Who is
Mhm.
using the platform today?
Yes. So cool. I can quickly answer both. So it's not just a cataloging solution, right? Cataloging is a very small part of it. It's about monitoring real-time activities into everything happening within your environment. So basically, we monitor all the calls, right? Every access in real time, so that you don't have to be concerned about anything being missed. So this is not a static solution. Now, it's not just data cataloging or just static lineage. It's more about how in real time your data is moving within the environment as well as outside the environment, so different third parties. So it's basically about providing that complete picture as such.
Maybe if I may also ask a question.
Yeah, just
So
before
what are
that, okay, sure, go ahead.
you wanted to answer the second one, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah.
No worries. So how customers are using it is in a few different ways. So there are three core use cases. One is like a lot of companies which are in which have grown like crazily in tech space. They are using us to understand what their infra looks like, what are the different how the data is being used within their environment, where the data is actually moving, so that they can actually ensure the sensitive data is being used only in the right way, so as to ensure safety as well as compliance. Banking kind of companies are using this to ensure that like any malicious insider is being monitored, right? So that they are not making any random changes to the data, right? So for example, if my friend is working for a bank and that friend has access to the databases of the bank, they can just go and update my bank account value, right? So those kind of things needs to be monitored, and banking kind of customers are using it like that. And then third, like a lot of companies are using this to monitor what their AI models are doing. So what are the different AI models into production, what kind of data they are actually accessing, right? Both from vector databases as well as from the actual databases on which they are trained upon. So those are a few of the major use cases that our current customers are using us for.
So these are current customers you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So if I understand it correctly, if I just repeat what you said, it's mostly about compliance and making sure that the data is used in the right way, it's used for the right thing, and everything is sort of in check, right? I understand that that's very important when you want to have a large scale operation with AI. My question is, how do you actually make sure that, I'm just interested technically, how do you make sure that, how easy it is to implement this in practice? Sort of, is it like should I imagine it as like a plugin to, like, let's say, LangChain library, where it's gonna essentially log everything that I do with the LLM? Or how is this implemented? And then second question, what are the sort of insights that you can get from this apart from simply making sure that there are certain rules, I guess, in check? What are the insights that you can possibly get from all this monitoring that can help you make your organization more intelligent? And is that an angle that you are actually considering on? Yeah.
Yes, 100%. So a few things. First of all, of course, compliance is one core important part, but we are also helping with security. Secondly, we are I'm pretty sure like a lot of you might know about Wireshark, right? So how Wireshark used to do the security or secure the local infra, right? Like your Wi-Fi, LANs, etc. By monitoring the packets. Similarly, we have used same tech at your servers, where we monitor all your network traffic in order to understand what is traveling within your network, what are the different components in your network, how they're communicating, and understand all of these, stitch this together so that you can get this complete picture around what is happening in your network. And how we make it usable is basically like, again, there are static policies for compliance, and then we have AI based security, where we try to understand different basically behaviors of users who are accessing the data in some way or the other, right? So for example, if someone is accessing some data at 2 a.m. at midnight, right? Or if someone is trying to bulk access the data, or someone trying to access the revenue data, or like specifically looking at their friends' data if you are working in social media or like food delivery kind of company. So all of those things come under behavioral patterns that our AI is able to detect.
Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Thank you.
All right. I believe there are a lot of questions already. We'll take them offline. But what a discussion we had, right? And starting from Dr. Hamza to Dr. Nicolina coming in, Bettina, Jakob, and our very own AI, Dr. Akivla, right? And Apur, thank you so much for bringing that startup touch. And with that, we wrap up what's been an incredibly engaging session from hard question around ethical AI to real world solutions, right, Orva? Thank you once again to our brilliant speakers, our jury, and all of you for such an involved audience. Let's keep the conversation going because the future of AI isn't just being coded, it's being shaped by voices like yours, right? Thank you once again for your time. Looking forward to more such engaging discussions in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Naman. Thank you so
Thank you
much
so much.
for the panel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, panel.
Pleasure. Bye.